just kind of wanted to start. You're one of several guys that came along with Barry from the success that you guys had at UNLV. I'm just curious what you think was maybe the most essential thing to getting that to where you had it at UNLV, and what's the most essential thing to like be able to transplant to here to get this going in the right direction?
I think the players bought into working hard and playing hard. I think, at first it was the aspect of hey, if they had some seasons that weren't so good before we got there, and okay, if you want to be different, then we got to do some different stuff. And it starts with putting in work and really buying into working hard because it can go one way or another when you first get to a place and you really want to push guys. And they took it the right way, took it to heart, and it just kind of carried over into football, and just became who they were. They worked hard, they played hard, and that was our DNA over there, and they took pride in it. And so, all of it was based around them. The players play the game, and they just bought into, hey, if we do this work, it's going to be really hard, but you're going to win. And when they learned that that was the key to winning, it only grew from there.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, can you just kind of describe your I guess your scheme, your base scheme, and and just what to expect from your defense in 2025?
Yeah, that's a really hard question to answer, mainly because we're trying to figure out who our players are. The players are the most important part of every scheme. You got to figure out what they can do. It doesn't matter what I know, it matters what they can do. And so, that's part of it. We're still learning everybody, but I can also tell you that, if you're a traditional person, you think of schemes as a 4-2, a 3-4, or a 3-3. We're going to do all of them. And there's times on one single snap we could do all of them. If you look at our past at Missouri, it was a 4-2. At Arkansas, it was a 3-2, 3-3 at times, and then at UNLV, we did a little bit of all of it. And even you go back to Missouri before when Odom was there, we did some of that stuff as well, and that was more of a 3-4 scheme. But what you do is you build it around your players, and you build it at what they can do best, and everything from there becomes, I want to say window dressing, but what kind of defensive line we put out there, what alignment they start in, will change all the time, and it may change in the middle of a snap while the quarterback's calling the cadence. So we're going to be very, very multiple, but rely on our players and their skills and their talents.
Sam, go ahead.
Hi, Sam King from the Journal and Courier in West Lafayette. I'm just curious, in the portal, it's probably easier to get guys than recruit high school players with the perception Purdue has the last couple of years. How do you get these guys who are younger? I know you're recruiting 27s, 28s even now, to realize that the perception is not the reality with what this staff is going to do with Purdue football.
You got to rely on, you say just the past, your past. And the truth is, we don't know what's going to happen here. I can't promise you anything, but you can point to Arkansas where, they weren't so great before we got there, and we saw a program and assisted in helping a program get to 9-10 wins, and kind of get back to where they thought they should be. And then you go to UNLV where it was actually a history of losing. I still think to this day, even with the success we had, if you look at the Mountain West, the losingest team in the Mountain West is still UNLV. So we got there and did what we did there in a short period of time, 2 years in a row. All I can say is we've seen it at multiple different levels, and seen what it takes and what it requires. And you can show people that. And then, I coach linebackers, I coach defense. We've had some pretty good linebackers along the course of those stops. So, you can't promise anything, but you can say, hey, here's what we're coming from, here's what we've done. And if you trust in the plan, history says that you can be just like what has happened in the past.
Go back to Nathan.
Mike, how important is pass rush going to be to what you want to accomplish? And can you talk about some of the guys that you brought in, maybe CJ not only primarily among that, but what did you guys do in the portal that you think addresses that?
Yeah, it's huge. Pass rush is huge. Affecting the other team's quarterback is the name of the game on defense. Quarterback's got the ball in his hands every play. Okay, and it's great. The offense coordinator, we're going to go against some great ones, and they can draw up the greatest plays ever. But if the guy with the ball in his hands is flustered by any stretch of the imagination or doesn't exactly know what he's looking at, then as a defense, we're probably going to be successful. So rushing that quarterback is very important. But a lot of that, again, goes back to the players. Yeah, we added CJ. We had CJ Madden, who's already here, who I think is a very talented player. You know, we're going to figure out who can rush. And a lot of it comes again. It's to me, it's about the players. Can we set up whoever we think is our best guy or our best two guys? Can we set those guys up to have success? Can we set them up to be in a position to be able to get to the quarterback and not have two, three guys blocking them on their way? So that, you know, part of that is on, you know, your scheme, but it's finding which players you can do that for. You know, yes, it's about the players, but if you don't have the right scheme to be able to get them to rush free, to be able to get them to play fast, then sometimes their talents don't get shown.
Nathan, you got another one? Or are you good? Okay, go to Dub.
Hey, Mike, just, some of the linebackers you guys brought in out of the portal, Manny Powell, Carson Dean, Alex Sanford, just what do those guys provide for your guys' defense?
You know, Manny in particular, he's been with me for several years now, from the University of Arkansas to UNLV to now here at Purdue. So through those years, we've become comfortable with each other. I know how to speak to him to get him, you know, to be in the right place on the field, and he knows what I'm looking for in terms of day to day, how to work and how to carry yourself. You know, he's a really talented player, and he knows a lot of the different scheme systems that we've run. You know, and you look back to him at UNLV, he played linebacker. There were times we were down defensive linemen, so we put him in as a defensive lineman position. Now he was standing on 2 feet, not necessarily in 3-point stance, but he's a really talented blitzer. So he had the ability to just go stand in for a defensive lineman that wasn't there and be our next pass rusher. And so just the familiarity I have with him and being able to coach him over the past 3 years, that's, you know, he's got is big for me and for him. And then Dean and Sanford, you know, I recruited those guys to go to the University of Arkansas, and then I left, you know, right as they showed up. So I knew what they could do in high school, and I thought they'd be really good players. But then I hadn't seen them since then. They're both guys who have been in a college program at a high level, and you know, been through it, know how to go about it. Their bodies are put together the right way, and they know what's coming. They know what's ahead. They've had some of the scheme, you know, between Jake Trump and Kelvin Green. I was with them at Arkansas as well, right? They were with us when we were at Arkansas. So there are schemes, there are things, there are terminology, there are words that they've heard spoken to them for the past 2 years that even though I wasn't there, there's a lot of familiarity there. So, I mean, and you're talking 3 guys that are 230 pounds and can really, really run. So, you know, I think the room needed some size and needed some speed. You know, I think those 3 really add to that. And you know, there's still some talent left here. It's got to be taught the right way and put in the right position. But you know, you look at a guy like Winston Berglund, who, yeah, he needs to stay healthy, but I mean, 230 pounds and he can run. If you can teach him the right way, if I'm worth a dang at my job, he should be a really good player as well. So we got some tools there.
Back to Sam.
2 questions and I'm done. The first one is the secondary. Was the most important thing you needed to bring in experience with, you know, basically none on this roster when you took over?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to bring in whatever we can to help the team, but yeah, I mean, we needed everything. We need everything. So yeah, secondary was big, and I think Coach Clark did an incredible job of recruiting those guys, and finding the right ones for us, and then getting them here. I think talent wise, in the turnaround of what we need and what we got. I think, you look at that defensive back position from either safety or corner. Um, it did a heck of a job in the portal. And I think we got some really good players and guys that are going to be able to step in and help us right away. And then again, there are guys still here that I think have a lot of talent, and it's up to us to bring that out. You got Smiley Bradford, and you got Hundori Hines, who I think both guys, you watch them run around. And I know Smiley from East St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis, so I got always had an ear to the street there. I know who he is, and I think they have a lot of talent and a lot of ability to help us. So when you bring in the guys, Taj, when you bring in Richard Tony, Tony Grimes, Ryan Turner, you bring in those really good players and then add them to a few others that have already been here. They're going to make those guys better, and I think it's a pretty strong room now.
And then the last thing for me is just how valuable is it for you as a young coordinator to have Barry, who kind of had a similar pedigree, and you probably speak a lot of the same language and can lean on him because he's been in every situation you're going to come up against?
Yeah, it's great because I think, well, he coached me in college. So, we've been together for quite some time. He recruited me when I was in high school, coached me when I was in college. So a lot of familiarity, and through those years, when he's your boss, you learn what he likes and what he wants and how he thinks. So I think through those years, we think a lot alike. And so with that, he lets me be me, and he lets me do our thing, and he doesn't come in there and try and be he doesn't try and come and do too much. He's the head coach, and he trusts us and lets us do our job. There are times when I'm sitting there for a game week early in the morning, and I know there's something we did back in 2015 when he was coaching me, and I'll call him up and I'll say, "Hey, do you remember this?" And he said, "You know what? I was just thinking about the exact same thing." So, I call him, I rely on him for things like that. I got his playbook from 2015 that we ran in the corner of the room, and I dig into it quite often. So, just he lets us do our thing on defense, and he doesn't get in our way, try and be too much. He's super helpful and kind of just helps reinforce everything that we're trying to do. So I don't ever feel like I got somebody that's I don't ever feel like somebody creeping over my shoulder, looking at me like the head coach. He's a great defense coordinator, so he's probably judging everything I do. I don't ever feel that way, which just helps us be who we are.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, how would your players describe you as a coach?
I guess it depends on the scenery around. And by that I mean, are you on the grass? Are you in the room? Or are you just at the house hanging out? Um, I expect a lot out of them. I demand a lot out of them. But I think they all understand that it's because I want them to be good. I try and keep myself out of everything. I played before. My playing career is over. My time to shine's over. It's their time to shine. And I think if you can understand that and get them to know that you believe that, and that you care about them, it's about them. It's not about you. You have the ability to push them. So if we were in a meeting room, sitting around hanging out, I like to talk ball and shoot like everybody else, but then when it's on the field, I'm pretty demanding. But it's all under the premise of, if you want to be good, if you want to win, if you want to be happy on Saturday, we're going to go through it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, in order for you to get to that Saturday and be happy at that Saturday. And I think there's an appreciation at the end of it. But again, it all, I think the players that I coach know that I want them to win, and I want what's best for them, and I believe what's best for them is winning. And through that, we're all working together. It's not, I'm younger, right? So there's a lot of coaches that say it's my way or the highway. You're going to do it like I said because I said so. I'd say we're a team. We're doing this together. You and I are in this together. And a lot of times the kid tells you, hey, coach, I want to be the best. Okay. Well, when we get on the field, I'm going to remind you of what you said, and I'm going to hold you to it. So I guess that'd be the best way to describe it.
Any more final questions for Coach Scherer?